This is CodeWalker. Today I was documenting how some of this code works, ironically inside CodeWalker, when I ran into a bug. And so now I'm going to show you how to document code using CodeWalker, and then how to document how to fix a bug that you find in the code that you were using while you were documenting. Something like that. Let's get into it. This is for CW rope, and what it does is very simple. It creates a rope or a filled segment of some sort between 2 points in space, and then you can move those points around and it will correctly redraw and recreate the mesh. This is not a matter of creating line segments between the thing at runtime. It's generating actual mesh that can be exported with volume and everything else. CW rope system can be generated one of two ways. Either you can do it dynamically kind of on the fly by just creating by adding some point objects. So for example, I can add a third object to this. I'm going to do that. Throw that in here. And now if I move that object around, it creates the path between it, and it allows me to basically very quickly and very easily generate shapes like this. And as you can see, it has a diameter. I can go in here and I can change that number of sides, and it will smooth out those edges if I wanted to add a whole lot of sides, or if I wanted to make it a triangle. Any of those, any shape that are between. Okay, so how does it work? Well, obviously you stick it on an object that already has a mesh, and I'm going to get into the code now. In Start, it's very simple. All we're doing is we're grabbing the current mesh renderer, and we're going to use that. Now, you could generate your own mesh renderer if you wanted to. If you wanted to do that, feel free to change the code. But in our case, we basically have it attached to a box that already has a mesh renderer. Next, we have line. Line is a convenience function, and all it does is allow you to pass in a start and an end, and it generates the entire line for you. Set points allows you to pass in a list of points, and it will set and generate the line for you. Update colors allows you to change the colors. Once you've set points, or you've given it a start and end point, you can set the colors that you want to be assigned. You can also set the points and colors at the same time from code. Build path is where the magic happens, and we'll get to that in a minute. And it calls extrude road, which in turn calls build linear quads. We'll get to all of that in just a moment. Update is where we will basically be looking at all of the objects that we've assigned. If we're using objects as points, it will walk that list of objects and redraw all of the points. It calls basically if there are more than one point object, so it checks to see if there are point objects first. It's going to call update now. The problem is we're not checking at any point here between where we're generating our road and our update function. We're not checking to see if these objects have actually updated. In other words, every single time we go through update, we are absolutely calling extrude road, which means we're generating our mesh, regenerating our mesh 30 or 60 times per second, and that is not a great idea. So that's interesting. I did not actually think about that when I was looking through the code itself. It only occurred to me when I was looking through it in CodeWalker here. So what we'll change is here in our update function, if the point object's length is greater than 0, right here is where we'll probably introduce some code that says maybe we'll keep an array of or a list of previous point object locations, and we check to see if that's moved. And then if any of them have, then we generate the rest of our line. Otherwise, we bail. So that is a thing that I'm going to need to save for later, so I'm going to take a screenshot of that. Done. And I'll make that change before I post the code to the rest of the world. If you have any questions, please get in touch. And I used CodeWalker to do this little demonstration here. You can get your copy of CodeWalker at getcodewalker.com.